Let's see if you know the difference between good preaching and biblical preaching, because there's a difference, and that difference can be very costly. And I'm going to give you a Bible passage to put this to the test. John chapter 1, verse 51. Jesus says, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Good preaching sounds something like this, where it tells you that have you ever been in a place where you couldn't reach your goals, or maybe a spot in life where you knew you didn't have the height to reach it, but what happens when God gives you a ladder to reach the very thing you've been aiming at? And they gonna make it sound real good and use some type of connection where you've experienced something in life where you had to reach and it changed everything when you could hit that goal. That's good preaching. It sounds good. It makes your ears kind of tickle and it feels relatable. But is it biblical preaching? Because preaching that's biblical requires you to ask the question, what did this author mean when he wrote this? What was the context in which it was written? Is there anything that Jesus is saying that we would need to understand that context before we can understand what he's saying here? And this is way more intriguing and edifying for your soul, because what Jesus is actually saying in John 1:51 actually comes from Genesis chapter 28. See how the scripture actually speaks on the scripture? And there was this idea that back in Genesis 28, Jacob had a dream. He had a prophecy that wasn't really answered in the Old Covenant, wasn't really answered in the Old Testament, but it was this ladder, which actually wasn't a ladder. This is where Hebrew and Greek helps you out. In actual Hebrew, it would be much closer to a ziggurat. You know, those temples that you've seen in the ancient Mayan culture where it looked like steps were climbing up to the top of the heavens. That's what it was, a ziggurat, a way that humanity can get to God, because the problem is none of us are connected to him, because God's up there and we're down here. And not only is it that, he's holy and we're not, which is a problem. Because not only can we not receive the blessings of God, but we can't even have communion with him. We can't be in fellowship and be connected to him unless there was a ladder or ziggurat. But here's what changes in Genesis 28 verses in John chapter 1:51. Instead of it now being a ladder or ziggurat, Jesus says angels of God ascending and descending, not on a ladder, but on the Son of Man. And he's talking about himself, because Jesus is the mediator between God and man. He was God in the flesh. He is the perfect Son of God that actually gives humanity access to the unreachable God through him. And that's bigger than a health, wealth, and prosperity preaching. That talks about how humanity can know God for eternity and have a relationship with the one that created him and the one that rules the universe. See the difference? Hit the follow. Let's talk about it.